Hi, and welcome back to David Pattinson's Accused Friends podcast format. It's been a couple of weeks since I last did a video, and it's because I've been out in the US state of Florida, which is a wide open state in terms of lockdown restrictions. There's no lockdown here, there's no restrictions of any kind. It's pretty much like being a free citizen again. And before I get into the anti-lockdown topics that I want to discuss, I'll give people a quick overview of life in Florida right now. It's great weather, of course, but it's a wide open place. Beaches are wide open with people, restaurants, bars packed with people. There's no track and trace, there's no compulsory face mask, there's no stay at home, there's no group of six, there's no COVID marshals, there's no police beating you up. It's a great environment to be in. Gyms are open, shops are open, people out on the streets, people out having a good time. And, if any British citizens are interested in that kind of experience over the winter months, I would say that Florida is a great destination. I have only really had a couple of lockdown related problems. Some of these big box retail stores have national mandates about having customers wear face masks, and there's been a couple I've been thrown out of Costco and UPS because obviously I'm not going to be wearing a face mask. Most of the others though, the face mask mandate is not particularly strictly enforced, although most people here politely comply. In the corporate restaurants, the food servers and bartenders typically wear face masks, but if they're a private food service or hospitality establishment, they do not. And then as far as major sports go, the NFL stadium here locally is up to about 30% capacity, which is about 25,000 people in the stadium, and they're trying to get it up to 100% by January. So a lot of good things related to opening up or what have you. I haven't met anyone that's afraid of the virus or taken any sort of particularly strict precautions. I was in the supermarket yesterday morning, and the cashier was an extremely elderly lady, must have been at least mid-80s, and she was getting on with her work, wasn't afraid of interacting with anyone, wasn't trying to get off work or anything like that. And so there's also a lot of people I've met that have moved to Florida from other parts of America. Parts of America have different restrictions depending on the state, and people have escaped their state to go to Florida because it's wide open. You can go to work, you can earn a living, you can live your life, and you can have a good time. And I think that's what a lot of people want these days. So a good situation in Florida, not many virus problems, and of course it's the old story. The more lockdown and virus restrictions you have, the more virus problems you have. And of course the fewer lockdown restrictions you have, the fewer virus problems you have. And in the UK, just coming to the end of lockdown 2, and virus is out of control. We've got to have the tier system, which is lockdown 3 in all but name. And Boris Johnson is telling the members of Parliament that if you don't accept lockdown 3 in all but name, you'll get lockdown 3 in name. That's the newspaper headlines that I've been reading. So more threats from big government. I want to make a special thanks to all the protesters that have been going out over this past weekend, particularly in London. These protest numbers are getting bigger and bigger, and it's great to see. If only we'd have had all of these great people protesting back in April and May, when I was there in Hyde Park with just a couple of hundred people, and it's when Piers Corbyn was getting arrested, the first and second times. It seems like a long time ago now. And I want to make a special point of referencing some of these media figures, Richard Madley, Rod Liddle, Mike Graham, Julia Hartley-Brewer, these are good people. I'm not looking to have a dig at them, but they're what I call fair weather anti-lockdown people. They were in favour of lockdown 1, but they are now anti-lockdown 2 or lockdown 3 or lockdown infinity, if you want to call it that, because they have what I would say is a hypocritical position. It's, we're happy to accept government tyranny for lockdown 1. We just don't want to accept it for subsequent lockdowns. But from my point of view, you're either a free citizen or you're not. If you're a free citizen, you can lock yourself down for lockdown 1 if you wish, or you can just live your life. And that same position applies for all subsequent lockdowns. I certainly don't need the government to tell me what to do with my own health. Other people may do. But of course, this is the thing about being a free citizen. You get the benefits of freedom, which are your freedom to live your life on your own terms, but you also get the cost of freedom, which means you have to be responsible for your own health and welfare. And I think a lot of these media figures who are rapidly backpedaling now that the tide has turned for anti-lockdown, they're trying to get on the right side of public opinion. So they want to say, yeah, you know what, I was in favour of lockdown 1, but we don't really need to talk about that now. Let's just talk about my hostility or my opposition to lockdown 2. But, as a British body politic or a British citizenry, we need to be consistent. We are free citizens. We need to stand up for our freedoms when they're under assault at the time they begin to be under assault. We don't need to wait 6-9 months till they're really under assault before we say something. And I hope this is a lesson to our people that, we need to nip these abuses of civil liberties in the bud at the source, just like I did, just like some of you did, but not enough of us did to prevent this crisis from being, a full-blown disaster, both socially, economically, and, it just fundamentally changes this relationship between state and citizen. We go from being government by, for, and of the people to government by, for, and of itself, with the people as the slaves to the Big Daddy government. And it's not British, it's not anything I like, and there is no end in sight unless there's a citizen's prosecution of the government. I understand there'll be a judgment in the Simon Dolan case this week, which I imagine will be another whitewash. I understand there is a vote in Parliament tomorrow about these new tiers, spelled TIERS as opposed to TEARS, which is probably what they should be called. And I'm assuming that will be a whitewash as well. I mean, there's some of these Conservative MPs saying we need to have a law saying there can be no lockdown ever again, or lockdowns are illegal. But of course, we already have that law. It's called the English Bill of Rights, which is still in force. We have laws that say British citizens have freedom of association, that British citizens have a right to be presumed innocent till proven guilty. British citizens have a right to a fair trial. British citizens are not allowed to be given endless bail. British citizens have protections against unlawful searches and seizures. The government are in violation of all these laws and need to be held criminally responsible. They need to be prosecuted. Parliament should be leading the citizens' prosecution. It should not be me as a private individual that keeps having to go on about this. And that's the sort of ineptitude and the spinelessness of our elected officials. And it's our fault. We elect these losers, and they're a bunch of spineless, gutless losers that are not fit to be representing British citizens at all. They're as criminally culpable as the government, in my view, which is probably why they're so lukewarm about jumping on board with the citizens' prosecution. They want to obfuscate their culpability rather than be responsible for their culpability. And the culpability not only is violating British civil liberties, but it's destroying the health and the wealth and the sort of social unity and the social fabric of our entire country. And it's criminality on a mass scale. It is not just incompetence. It is not just an accident. This is deliberate. This is malicious. This is tyrannical. This is the antithesis of a free society in every regard. And it's important that you and I and as many British citizens as possible oppose these measures at every single step. I want to mention Rishi again. I feel like I'm pretty much the only person that criticises Rishi. Why that is, I don't know. Why people think he's a great guy, I don't know. Why people think he's doing a good job is just totally beyond me. I mean, he just came out a week ago talking about how budget deficit this year will be £394 billion, and that the GDP performance is going to be minus 11.3%, which is the worst performance for 300 years. And I was speaking to a guy at the airport saying, what would Rishi have to do to be doing a bad job? And he was of the impression that if we had minus 15% GDP, that would be a bad job. And he said, look, he's had a tough baptism of fire. He's been Chancellor in unprecedented times. It's, who could imagine what it's like to be Chancellor during a pandemic? And so I wanted to answer that question. I wanted to provide a bit of historical context. And I don't usually do video dedications, but in this video, I wanted to dedicate it to someone whose work looks better and better with each passing hour, and that's one of our great patriots, Roy Jenkins. And for anyone who's sitting there saying, David, I followed you up to this point, but now I think you're really going off on a tangent. Some of you might also remember, some of the older members of the audience, that Roy Jenkins was Chancellor of the Exchequer of Great Britain during the last pandemic, the 1968 Hong Kong flu. And so I thought, it'd be nice to do a side-by-side comparison of Roy Jenkins versus Rishi in terms of their performance in managing public finances. Now, of course, Roy Jenkins was a member of the Labour Party, and he was known for fiscal discipline. He was what you call a conservative. A fiscal conservative, whereas Rishi, of course, is a fraud. He's a pretender. He's a conservative in name only. He is an imposter to the Conservative Party because he is not remotely conservative. I mean, if you want a conservative, you need a Labour guy like Roy Jenkins. And just to give you a quick comparison, 1968 GDP during the Hong Kong flu, which killed 80,000 British people, was 5.6%, and that's compared to Rishi's 11.3%. So I'm no mathematician here, but I think we're looking at a difference of about 16.9% in Roy's favour there, so 16.9% improvement on Rishi's performance, and this is with Rishi not doing a bad job by most comparisons. Also, to let you know that the budget deficit, 1968 was 3.9%, which is is quite high for the time. We don't quite know the budget deficit for this year for Great Britain, but I'm going to predict it's in excess of 20%. So Rishi's budget deficit 4 times higher than Roy's. So I'm going to give the nod to Roy for his performance in pandemic financial management. I think Rishi is a first-class criminal. I think he needs to be held criminally accountable for the total abuse of Britain's public finances. And a lot of people listen to me saying, well, look, David, you've been predicting this crisis would cost Britain $2 trillion, and it's only 394 billion. But I mean, this is just year one, folks. And by next 3 or 4 years, we're going to be getting up to the 2 trillion number in new debt as a direct result of the lockdown. And I'm going to be totally proven right. And hopefully Rishi will be about as far away from public finances or any finances by that point as he can possibly be. But this is a first-class disaster, which is all man-made. I mean, Roy Jenkins has shown us that not only do you not need to lock down during a pandemic, but you can also make money during a pandemic, or at least not lose as much as Rishi is doing. So, nice historical context. I think that we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, the Tory rebellion is growing, although I don't have a lot of confidence in them. There's just too many people in the Conservative Party that don't have a fundamental belief in the English Bill of Rights, in the fundamental freedoms of British citizens. Otherwise, they would never have supported lockdown in the first place. These Steve Bakers of the world, you know, the crocodile tears, these Boris Johnson types saying, you know, I'm a reluctant lockdowner, I'm really a libertarian, you know, these Michael Gove, total phonies. So I don't have any confidence in these people. We need a lockdown, we need the anti-lockdown party, we need the anti-lockdown movement to grow and grow, and we need the citizens' prosecution of the government. Because if we have a citizens' prosecution of the government, lockdown will end permanently. Whereas if we don't, lockdown will continue permanently, you know, in different guises, under different names. But it's all going to lead to more misery, more poverty, more national disunity, and it's going to be a very, very sad state of affairs. So hope you like this video. Hope my insights into a non-lockdown area like Florida give people hope and food for thought, and look forward to seeing you again very soon.